Blog Talk Radio.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico, and right alongside, of course, each and every week is LPGA professional and Legends Tour player Cindy Miller, and we are the hosts of the Women of Golf Show. Good morning, Cindy, and welcome.
Good morning, Ted. It's
we
sunny
were just
in
having
Buffalo,
an interesting...
I must tell you.
Yeah, well, you've passed the clouds down here because it's now overcast in Florida. We're expecting some rain, of course, again today and tomorrow, but I'm going to be positive. But anyways, welcome everybody to the show, and we'll get into some conversation here in a second. We've got a busy show today, two great guests coming up, one joining us here in just a few moments. But let me remind everybody, of course, we are live every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time here on blogtalkradio.com network. And again, just go to blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf or type in Women of Golf up in the search key, and that will take you to the main page. And you can listen during the live broadcast if it's available or a good time for you. And if not, then just go to that link and scroll down to the on-demand section, and you can listen when it's convenient for you. You can also go to iTunes.com or now Stitcher.com. It's also available there as a podcast. You can just, again, type in Women of Golf, and that will get you there on either iTunes or Stitcher.com. We'd love to hear from you, or if you have any comments or questions for Cindy and I, you can do so by calling in at area code 347-945-5855. And as always, if you want to reach out to either Cindy and I, you can do so at cindy@cindymillergolf.com, or my email is ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And, of course, we update on virtually all the social media, Facebook, Twitter, and, of course, LinkedIn as well. So you can find out about the show there by just checking either Cindy and I out there. Got a great show for you this morning. First up is going to be Cynthia Navis. She's a lead instructor at Central Coast Golf Academy and founder and president of the Rose Visor Incorporated. And then a little bit later on the show, Amy Nordeen. She's a former collegiate golfer from Montana and now currently a Class A PGA professional. She'll be joining us in the second half. Cindy, I don't know if you want to pick up the conversation or if you want to talk about it, but you had a busy little weekend. Tell us a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Well, I drove over to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, where there was going to be the Walgreens Charity Classic, the Red Nose Day, and I was second alternate to get into the event. And so I had every intention of trying to qualify. And the day before the qualifier, I got a text message from the tournament director and said, call me, good news. And someone had withdrawn, and the person that would have been in ahead of me, they called and said, I don't want to play. So, therefore, I got in the tournament, which was grateful. The first round of the tournament was rained out because you have no idea. It was 48 degrees and pouring and coming down sideways. And I played, I was on the first hole. I teed off and I hit a shot on the green. I had about a 20-footer for birdie, and the siren blew, so we went in. And we sat around for about 3 hours, and then the course was really unplayable. So I was very grateful that they called the round, although it might have been better for me because I'm probably going to shoot the same score whether it's beautiful or terrible out, being from Buffalo. And anyway, the next round, it was only a one-round tournament, and I did not play very well, but the purpose of me going was to get ready for these two major championships coming up, one in July and then the first ever Women's U.S. Senior Open next year. And I'm working on some things in my swing that I don't really trust. And so my husband, Alan, said to me, you just need to go and try to trust and block everything out. And I hit only 3 really bad shots, and I chipped pretty poorly, but I didn't finish last, and I made $3,800. So really it was a blessing I got in this tournament. I had to drive. I got done playing at 1:30 and got in the car and drove the 11 hours back to Buffalo, and then got up the next day, and yesterday was at Corning Country Club raising money for Corning Community College, their athletic program, which I've done every year for the last 10 years. So I've been a little crazy the last 2 weeks from filming all the Phase Golf online coaching program and then going to Wisconsin, but I'm absolutely not whining, and I'm thrilled and honored and grateful.
Well, and Cindy, like we were starting to get into a little bit of the conversation, and of course we came on live, so we had to abruptly stop it. But it's like I was saying, you know better than anybody your game. I know Alan has been there and helped you along the way as well, so I'm sure he has a good understanding of your game. But we each know our own game, and the one thing I admire about you, Cindy, is you own your game. When you're playing great, hey, that's fantastic. When you're not playing so great, you're not making a bunch of excuses. Well, it was this, or such and such over here did that, or there was a loud noise in the background. You own all of your game, and that's very, very important, and that's a key component to becoming a better player. And improving is recognizing where your areas that need the most improvement are and then focusing on that, and you do that very well.
Well, thank you. You have to look in the mirror.
Well,
and again,
exactly.
I'm not Julie Inkster, I'm not Michelle McGann or Lisa Lott Neumann, who won the event shooting 4 under par. I give 50 to 75 lessons a week, and I very rarely have time to hit balls myself because I need to make a living. So when you stop and think about it and you look at the truth and say, look, I'm not as good as them, and I don't practice as much. So you got to lower your expectations, and if you're not willing to do that, then you're in denial, and I refuse to be in denial.
Yeah, and you're so true. And you raise some great points. The thing is, you spend the majority of your time now teaching and helping so many others with their game, Cindy. And when you don't have the optimal time to get out there and practice, of course, your own game is going to suffer a little bit as well. But I like the fact that you keep, charging up the mountain, if you will, and doing what you can to play your best. And I know you're gearing up for some of the upcoming majors, and particularly the first U.S. Senior Women's Open that is going to be next year. And I know that's very, very exciting news for all women's golf, particularly for many of the legends out there that have been waiting for this for a long time. So I know you're gearing up for that. Cindy, we got to move on here. Our first guest, Cynthia Navis, is going to be joining us here. Let me just tell you a little bit about her. She's the lead instructor at the Central Coast Golf Academy. She's also the founder and president of Rose Visor, Inc., which is kind of an interesting product, and she'll tell us a little bit about that. She has a vast experience coaching junior golfers, beginners, and, of course, experienced players. Studied under some top 100 golf instructors like Jimmy Ballard, Fred Shoemaker, and Paul Runyon, just to name a few. So let's bring her on here. I know we have limited time, but let's bring our very special first guest this morning, Cynthia Navis.
Good
morning. How are you?
Great. Thank you.
We're doing well.
Us.
Cynthia, thank you for joining us this morning. I know it's very early because you're out in California, so thank you for getting up bright and early, and hopefully you've had your first cup of coffee. Cynthia, we wanted to, I guess, start things off just because we haven't had you on the show before, just to let our listeners know a little bit about you. Maybe talk just a little bit about your background and maybe some of the things that kind of separate you from some of the other pros out there, a little bit about your teaching background and how you teach and some of the things that you do in your programs.
Okay, well, I am was a top-rated amateur that's what my quest was. So I think what separates me from some of the other pros is I had a long, maybe like a 20-year span almost of amateur golf. So it took me to many, many different famous top 100 pros across the country. So I have how can I say, a span of different pros that I have studied with. It gives me a variety of different ways to approach certain problems or certain things. Studying with Jimmy Ballard and the way he teaches connection and the impact position was very different than Fred Shoemaker. His background was more, he was more of a mental approach. If you miss a shot, how did that feel? How did that feel compared to the one that you hit? It was all more feeling and that kind of approach to it, which if you mix the two, you have a wonderful, background there to come back to. It's just not from one pro, which, many famous players or even amateurs, they have one pro that they've ever taken from. And so I have a variety of different ways, and that's what really separates me from other, pros, because I have this background of them, and so I can approach, a problem if a student has, if they're going through the ball, if they don't understand the impact position. I have a lot of different ways to solve their problem, not just one, and so it just makes me have more of ways to solve their problem. So I think that helps me.
Right. Well, it makes you more well-rounded. Right. It makes you more well-rounded is what you're trying to say, because you're not just subscribing to necessarily one philosophy or one person's approach. You've had exposure to a number of different approaches, and I can see how that would certainly be a benefit. So when you're teaching, Cynthia, what are some things that you try to do with your students? Obviously, there's, and we talked about very briefly here in your intro, that you work with obviously beginner golfers as well as experienced golfers. Is there anything specifically that you try to do with each different sort of category, if you will, if we want to put it that way, when you're working with them? Or you pretty much treat them all the same?
That's difficult. Each person is an individual, but the way I approach my beginners, it is somewhat different than the better players. But I mean, most of them, when they come to me, a lot of them, their path is not where it should be. So I start with path. And also with the impact position. Going through, I teach a lot of leg motion. That came from Jimmy Ballard, using your right side to fire through the golf ball. And I do that with the impact bag, and I have a special stick that I designed to use in it. And it helps them understand from not swinging the club, teaching them in a different way the motion. And I have several ways. I use the medicine ball, I use the impact bag, and I get my students to really feeling what the position is through the ball, and how it's an explosive feeling with your lower body. And so, it's to each level. I mean, sometimes the better player, they might more so have problems with club head feel, rhythm. I've had a gentleman, for example, he had a very, very good swing, but his tempo was just so fast. He lost the feel of the club head. So when I changed that, he started really hitting the ball very, very well. He had no knowledge of it, and so, maybe that came from Fred Shoemaker in the field of club head throughout your whole swing. I have many drills that get people to do that. But the difference between the two is the beginners, they don't know how to use their legs, and they don't understand paths. So I have very simple drills for them to start off to understand a golf swing. And I start off very little, a very tiny little shot, and we build. We start off with a little chip and
right.
how, it feels, and then we build all the way up to a bigger swing. And it's a simple method. I have many people come to me that are beginners and that come into my teaching bay, and, they've never hit a golf ball. And, I get them within the hour to hit a absolute beautiful shot that is just nipped and perfect, and they stand there and they smile, and they're so excited that then they want to come back and see me again, and they buy a series, and they love it. And it's so exciting for me to actually get a person that's never hit a ball before to hit it perfect like that with a good golf swing where they can hit it again and again, not just once in a
right.
10, a repeatable swing. So
right.
I treat them a little bit
and
differently.
there is no better there's no better feeling, I'm sure, for any teacher when you have especially a new student. It's like molding clay. You have an opportunity to work with that individual, and when they see some results very quickly, it can be very, very satisfying. Cindy, I know that you I'm sure have some questions. Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, Cindy, if she has a question for Cynthia.
Oh, mm-hmm. Tell us about your visors.
My rose visor. Well, I'll just tell you the story of it. Like I said, I started playing golf, of course, when I was about 12 years old. But when I graduated from college, I played so much golf and had practiced so much that there wasn't a hat on the market that I felt was made with a lot of quality and that protected my skin. It was big enough. So, I researched a seller that was in my area. I lived in San Diego at the time, and I had them draw up and make this hat. And, I would wear it just around, whether to the beach or obviously to the golf course. And I had women come up to me, "Oh my goodness, I love your hat. I want to buy it. Can I buy it I'll pay you $75, And so I thought, oh, this is a little strange. I think I'll just make up a few. And so I actually made up about 200 hats for a USC, that's where I went to school, homecoming. And went and I sold them. I sold them in 2 hours. At that time, we're going back years, for $20, and for 200 hats. So I thought that's when my company was born. People really wanted something that was quality, that had a little flair to it, and that was large enough to protect them. So I created a whole line around that, and I sold it all over the world. I went to the PGA show, and I built that company up. I got a patent on the design. It's a design patent. And like I said, I built it up for about 10 years, and I sold the company. Some of the products came back to me, which was the rose visor. I guess it will always be my baby. And many actually famous ladies have worn that hat. Tiger Woods' mother used to wear it, still does. Fergie, Ava Gabor. I've had all kinds of different experiences with, celebrities and people that love it. And it's a great hat because it really protects you.
Now, do you still make the rose visor?
Yes, I do. I have a website. Times have changed a little bit. There is, and always will be, a customer out there that appreciates the coverage that it gives you and the different fabrics. So I still have a website, and I make it in all different fabrics and styles. So I don't do nearly the volume that I did. It's I was more so promoting it and not just having it be there. So I'm busy with my teaching, but it is available if a customer wants it.
And what's the actual website link? What is it? rosevisor.com, is that it?
Yes. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, for the listeners out there after the show, if you want to visit that and take a look, it is Cynthia sent actually a photograph, and I've seen it online, of course, a few times, and it truly is literally a work of art. She did a great job with putting it together, and for those that want to play with a little more style and flair, definitely you want to visit rosevisor.com after the show. Cynthia, I wanted to ask you another question, if I might, about golf courses. You indicate here that really they need to offer more marketing from their staff in order to survive. We know in the industry there's been many courses over the last decade or so with the economy and things like that have actually closed up, gone out of business or what have you. And you say one of the needs is really to the need for more marketing from their staff to be able to survive in the future. Maybe explain a little bit more about what you mean by that.
Okay. Well, the people that are, playing golf, starting to play golf, are juniors and are, women. And many of the golf courses in my past history have, I'll use the word stuffy, okay, where it's not as friendly as your atmosphere should be. Golf is supposed to be so fun, and in my opinion, I think that to preserve, and build for the future, it's not just men that play. That's going to grow golf. It's your young people, and the attitude. I think that the people that work there, everybody that works there, should almost be the same attitude as the people that work at Disneyland. I mean, I know this sounds silly, but whenever you go to Disneyland or Disney World, that's where you are, everybody is so friendly. They're always smiling. They always want you to feel good. What can I do for you? That's what every golf course should be, because it gives you a happy feeling, and that happy feeling goes into your golf game and makes you just have a wonderful experience. And instead of maybe treating the junior like he's a child, let's make him have a wonderful experience, where the pro is just so happy that he's there, not like, we have to tend to that or in that regard. So I think that they should kind of change their image, if that's a word, to want to please everybody, and I think that would be extremely helpful for the upcoming group that's coming in.
Right, exactly. Let me just add to that a little bit, Cynthia. I know exactly what you're getting at, and you're on many levels right. We've had actually even a few other guests on the show have mentioned that there is a little bit of a perception still in the golf industry by somebody that's not in the industry that it's a very elitist and we know it obviously can be pricey at times depending on what level you're playing at, but there is an image, if you will, that has been going around for many years, and there are a lot of people that are very intimidated when they come to a golf course because they maybe never played before. They don't know what experience. And you're right. I know, and being in the industry, I know firsthand, just even here locally, when I visited courses, there is a little bit of an intimidation that goes on, even behind the counter. And you're right. I think that there could be that could be one way of improving someone's experience coming to a golf club, and I think that's something that really, the managers and the club pros and that can work together to be able to do that. Sorry, go ahead. You were going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say, could you imagine if you were a beginner, and you're uncomfortable in the beginning because, maybe your golf level isn't of course, where it should be. And now you come to a golf course where, they don't really make you feel all that comfortable because they have more of an era about them. These are the people that are going to make every place survive in the next years to come. And we want them to feel comfortable and happy. And it doesn't matter if you're a 0 handicap or if you're a 20 handicap. You're there to have fun, and you're there to learn and prosper the game, So they need to kind of have like I said, it sounds so silly, but have the attitude of people that work at Disney World,
Right.
I love it.
Yeah, Cindy, I want to bring you back in real quick here just to add on to that a little bit. And I know that, where you are, it might be different than some of the other areas, but I think even too, would you agree or not with this, that maybe some of the courses, the local courses and that, could maybe even do a better job of reaching out within their own community, not just for tournaments and that, but reaching out to their community and maybe encouraging a more welcoming environment. That may be something that's going on up in the Buffalo, New York area a little bit better than some areas, I don't know, but that's something I think that could be good as well, as instead of just sort of opening the doors, come Monday morning and saying, well, come play golf, that they actually get out and get more involved in the community. What do you think about that, Cindy?
Absolutely. I think the public facilities, they should almost have a new player development program. The PGA has done that, and the LPGA is forming a program for women. And basically, I think people need to be invited. They need to be shown, that this is a welcoming environment, like you said, and that, hi, why don't you come over and have fun with us, rather than, oh, well, this is too stuffy. So I totally agree that the attitude has to change, and the more open and welcoming we are, the more people that will want to enjoy and learn to play golf, which is only going to help all of us make a living.
Exactly.
Yeah, and golf, I mean, certainly is, and I think we all three would agree with this, is a great game. There's so many life experiences that you can have playing golf, and similarities to life experiences and challenges that we face. And that's, I think, one of the things that draws us to golf is it's very much parallels everyday life. But I would agree with that. And I think, sometimes that a lot of the, whether it's public, private, or otherwise, I think some of the courses and some of the facilities should even host, sort of a, almost like a get-to-know type of platform, and send invitations out to the community and have them come in. And it doesn't even have to be about playing golf. It can just be about hosting something at their facility, just to sort of, and then at that time, then they can kind of make people familiar with what they do at the facility, what some of the programs that are offered, and just sort of a get-to-know, because I think a lot of people are under this misnomer. In fact, I know they are, because I've spoken to many, amateurs and that out there that just, would love to go and play golf somewhere, but they just don't feel, that the doors are open for them, and so they're a little bit apprehensive. But very great, and this is something too that you touched on, Cynthia, is about really making a lot of our junior and particularly female golfers need to be made to feel more comfortable when they're at a facility. Correct?
Exactly. And to maybe comment on your last comment, if a club can host, like a free clinic, where everybody could come from the town, the community, and have either one teacher or two teachers just introduce golf to them in a fun way. Maybe, have things to eat, kind of more like a party,
Right.
They would have such a different attitude towards it because, it is a difficult sport in the beginning. So the more fun and simple, those are the two key words, fun and simple, that we make it, the more golfers you're going to have. You don't want to overload them, with all kinds of computer things and this and that. And if you invite them from everywhere to just come and, have a free-for-all on the driving range, that could be really fun,
right.
I even include, oh, my God, music, food, just hitting teachers. I think that would be a wonderful thing to market their club and market golf, So, the more fun you make it for the junior, for whomever that's taking it up, the better experience they're going to have,
and I think
and the more they're going to love it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think even maybe making it even a more family-oriented event as well. The parents and the kids can come and have, maybe even put together some, not just clinics, but maybe some activities that would include the kids to show them, little putting games and things like that, and almost, do it from that format and not just, where you're just sort of inviting the corporate types and so forth like that.
Right.
But some very interesting observations, Cynthia, and Cindy and I want to thank you for joining us this morning. Unfortunately, we've got to let you go, but just for the listeners out there, where can they, if they want to learn more about you and also about your Visor, where can they go? Do you have a website besides the Visor's website, or how can they get in touch with you if they're interested in learning more about Cynthia Navis?
Well, I have a Facebook. They can come to, my name, Cynthia Navis Golf. They can learn. I have a lot of tips on there, little short, little videos of how I teach, what I teach. And they can also go to therosevisor.com and see my products there. And I want to thank you both so very much for having me. I had a great time, and I hope you kind of got an idea of my philosophy of golf and so forth.
Thank
sure
you
did.
so much.
Yes, Cynthia, thank you for joining us this morning. I appreciate it, and we'll talk soon. You have a great morning, and thank you for joining us early this morning from California on the Women of Golf.
Thank you both so very much. You have a nice day.
You're welcome.
All right,
you too.
Yeah, you too, Cynthia. Thank you. Bye-bye. Some definitely very interesting observations, but we've got to move on. So let's welcome our next guest, Amy Nordeen. She's a former collegiate golfer from Montana. Turned her passion for playing into golf into coaching. She's been a Class A PGA professional since 2013 and has been a traveling teaching pro ever since. She has worked with golfers all over the country and even in the golfer's paradise of New Zealand. She's now settled into a schedule wintering in Phoenix at the Tour Striker Golf Academy and spending her summers in Vail, Colorado, working specifically helping some of the lady golfers there. So let's bring on our very special second guest this morning, Cindy Amy Nordeen.
Good morning.
Oh.
Amy, are you there?
I'm not sure. We've got her on. Somebody on the line. Hi, good morning, Amy. Welcome to the Women of Golf. Oh, I think I just barely heard her. Hi, Amy. Are you there?
I'm here. I'm talking somewhat loudly. Is it not coming through?
It is now. It is now.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
It must have
okay.
Been, no, that's sorry. It happens
I'm in
from
our
time
pro
to time,
shop
Amy.
this morning, and okay, good to know. I don't get the best cell phone service everywhere around here, so I'll corner myself in the the good side of the pro shop.
I think that's what it was. I think that the signal wasn't quite getting through, and I could just barely hear something, and I wasn't sure if it was a mouse squeaking in the corner or if that was you. But
oh, no.
Anyways, we're glad you're here, and thanks for joining us. Cindy, why don't you go ahead? You're welcome. Thanks for joining us, Amy. Cindy, why don't you go ahead and start the conversation?
Tell us about Tathata Golf. I'm trying to get certified, and it's taking too long to do it. But I'm very intrigued.
Okay. I hear you. Well, I'm about halfway through right now, so you might be farther along than I am, but I'm loving it. Well, it's hard to get through the videos, that's true, but I've been setting a little routine, making myself do it every morning when I wake up. It's a good way to start the day because it gets you on the mindful track and kind of gets you in that good meditative state right off the bat. And I don't know, it's kind of just inspiring. So I have been finding it to be very helpful in my own game personally, and it's transferring into my golf lessons as well. And I'm starting to incorporate it a bit into my lessons, and I'm finding it's helping a lot with women specifically because it teaches you to really find your strength and use your muscles, use the ground. And I personally think a lot of my lady students don't get after it as much as a lot of my male students do. They'll just get after it and swing hard, and they can really make an athletic movement. And a lot of my gals can be more careful. So that's where I've been finding the Tathata to be very helpful in my instruction. And what about you?
Let me just add, Cindy, before you answer that, let me just ask a very quick, obvious question, since I'm obviously the odd one out here. Just explain a little bit about what it is, just for those of us that aren't familiar with what that particular training is.
Go for it, girl.
Okay. So that's a great question. I don't always have the best answer for defining it, and I'd be interested to hear what you say too, Cindy. But it's kind of a combination between martial arts, kind of kung fu, certain motions where you're isolating movements and kind of using your breath, using your muscles, and going through a series of movements like you would in martial arts to, I guess, what's the best word? Just find your strength, I guess, and use the ground. I would say that's the key, is using the ground for power, and working from the ground up, and to kind of use your body as like you're cracking the whip. The smallest limbs are the last thing to move, your hands and things like that. So that's the physical portion of it, and the mental portion of it is what I'm finding to be even more helpful, and embracing your own authentic golf self and being able to walk around on the golf course with confidence, knowing that, like, I'm Amy, this is my golf game. My expectations aren't greater or lesser than that. I know who I am. I know what shots I can hit, and that way I can stay in a state of happiness instead of getting down on myself if I'm not meeting my unrealistic expectations every shot. So that would be my definition. What do you think, Cindy?
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's intriguing and it's different. And I thought, I think I'm going to try to learn more about this because I love to learn new things. And the only catch is the 90 course, classes that you have to take and take a test. I'm like, really? And each video is almost 30 minutes to an hour. I'm like, no, so I've only done 3 or 4 of them, but it's very intriguing. And I think they've got something, and I like what they say. It's just, I wish I could fast forward it because I have no patience.
Oh, yes. It's testing
which
my
probably
patience.
Means
which probably means you need it. Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
I would have to agree with myself. I know. Well, once you get into the mindfulness stuff, like the meditation and things, I think you might maybe get more interested and want to keep going with it. That's the stuff I like the most. I don't know. I'm a big I try to meditate in all the time outside of golf, and I suck at it. I'm not good at it, but I try. And I like the Tathata style of meditation because you're not just sitting there trying to be relaxed and trying to clear your mind and all of these mythical things that you can't really do. You might think you're trying, but it's hard to do. So what you do is you sit there and you try to create energy in your body. You push on the ground with your feet. You set your hands on your knees and you push. You kind of squeeze your muscles all together, and you're creating energy. You're building energy. You're feeling powerful. You're feeling athletic. And like that I can do. That makes sense to me. And incorporating that on the golf course is really cool too. Just as simple as sitting in a golf cart and being able to create that kind of power feeling, power's not the word, but excitement, kind of
ownership.
Like self-ownership. Yes, I love that. That makes sense to me, and that can really help you. Those little nonverbal things you do, your body language, really makes a difference with how you play, and nobody really realizes that. Well, amateurs, I would say, don't realize that.
Yeah. And you can choose to shift states, which I think is awesome.
Yes.
So
yes.
If I understand then correctly, ladies, then basically what this is it's not just about finding your center, if you will, and things like that. There's many benefits that can come from going through obviously the training and understanding Tathata a little bit better. But basically it's sort of finding your inner strength, if you will, and then tapping into that. Would that be a fair assessment? Yes, you nailed that. I should have said that first off. That would have made a lot more sense. Sorry. So us guys do get it a little bit better than you thought. Let me just very quickly just add on, then we'll move on. But so what brought you to this? How did you guys, and Cindy, I want you to answer this as well. Was this something that you came across at a recent PGA show, a merchandising show or something, or how did you come about hearing about? Because I'll be honest, I've never heard of this before. Well, Cindy,
Deb Vangelo, Deb Vangelo is the president of the teaching division of the LPGA, and she reached out to a few of us and said, Tathata's offering free certification for anyone who's interested. And I'm friends with Brandel Chambly, and I know Gary McCord from Alan Playing on Tour Forever, and so I had seen that they were involved with it. And I was intrigued, and I thought, what is this? And so I thought it was cool, and I thought, well, I'll try it. And then I did the first session, and I thought it was cool and different, and I thought, wow, this is a different way to think. But again, it's making the time and committing to doing the program, which I have not chosen to do because I'm a spinning plate maniac, but which means I probably need to do it. But that's how I found out about it.
Oh, okay, interesting. Cool. And Amy, pretty much similar experience. Somebody introduced it to you, and is that basically
Well, something like that. I've always been a fan of mental golf, and Lynn Marriott and Pia Nielsen. I'm sure you're familiar with them, and I've read all of their books, and their instruction has made the biggest difference in my own game personally. And I love Bob Rotella, things like that. And Tathata Golf is something you can get certified in that's very similar to that. I think it's the only real mental golf certification out there that I know of. Do you know of anything?
You might be right.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of programs. Yeah, there's a lot of programs, but I don't know of any that offer what you're describing here. That's very interesting.
Yeah. So, and also I'm kind of a little yogi at heart, so it fits into that role too. But so it just sort of fits everything that I stand for, I guess. So that's really how I just did some Googling and found it that way.
Very interesting. Now, you've also worked in New Zealand, and tell us a little bit about that experience. That was obviously very cool and very exciting for you to be able to do that. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so that was a great experience. 2 summers ago, or our winters, their summers, I went over and worked at Cape Kidnappers Golf Course, which is number 16 in the world. It is gorgeous. If you haven't seen it before, it's worth a Google because it's one of the coolest places I've ever been in my life. And I got to work with a lot of very interesting people over there. I mean, people from all over the world will come to play golf in New Zealand, a lot of non-English speaking people. And I don't know if you've given many lessons to someone who doesn't speak your language, but it's quite educational and it definitely tests you a little bit. And you can actually get pretty far with someone without using words, which is probably the most useful way to teach, really. But anyway, so that was a great experience. And also, I worked with the local golf course there in New Zealand, or in Napier, where I was living, just called Napier Golf Club. And that was a cool experience because the demographic was probably 50-50 male to female members. And the women's club that I worked with, golf is very competitive for the locals in New Zealand, I would say. And the ladies club that I worked with, when I left, the average index of the women's team is 4.1. And these are women who are 40, I know, who are 40 to 70 and play a ton of golf and take it very seriously. And it was just really fun to work with 15 women who are like really freaking good at golf. So that's not normal for me over here. You know, I'm more involved with the beginners clinics and getting women introduced to golf. So that was just interesting, I thought. Yeah.
And that's got to be an interesting experience, especially when you did you find it a little bit intimidating? I mean, obviously I know you've worked with better players as well, but when you get a group of women who are essentially all good golfers, they're not your weekend warriors, so to speak. They're out there playing a lot of golf. Mm-hmm. They know what they're doing. It was a little bit intimidating, do you think, at first when you first thought, wow, wait a minute, these girls know what they're doing?
What a question. Yes. Very, very intimidated. Yeah, because I would
honesty.
Love to play to a 4.1. I mean, I should of course be better than that, but as we all know, we're on the lesson tee a lot. Our game is not
right.
not always that. So yeah, great question, and yes.
So,
interesting. I have a question.
Now,
yeah.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Tell us about Focus Band, because I bought a bunch of them, and I have great intentions, but I don't really follow through that well. So give us some scoop. I love this thing.
Okay, so the Focus Band. I've heard you talk about right brain, left brain in some of your radio shows, but I don't know if I've heard you say Focus Band, but I figured you knew about it and maybe you had used it. But for anyone who doesn't know, this Focus Band, you strap it on your forehead, and it gives you feedback whether you're in your left brain or your right brain, whichever side of your brain is firing at any given moment. And it hooks up to your phone. Your phone makes little sounds to alert you in what brain you're in. So if you're, if you're being analytical, we'll put it in a golf perspective. When you're standing behind the shot, kind of in your think box, you're making your plan, you're noticing the wind, you're picking your target. That would be left brain analytical. And as soon as you walk into the shot, you should be able to switch over to your right brain, which is more creative, more target hole focused, and it's basically turning your thinking off. So that's a lot easier said than done, and having this Focus Band to tell you right away if you're able to do it is so cool. So, Cindy, have you tried to use it, or have you used it yourself, or do you use it with your students?
I've used it myself, but not while I'm out playing. But what a great idea.
Yeah. So, and that's what, Jason Day, that's what he can do so well. And he's a big focus band advocate, too. When he stands behind the shot, he closes his eyes and pictures himself hitting the shot. And he can visualize it so clearly. And he's in right brain, meditative side, and he can stay in that state from that moment on until he's finished with the shot, which is really hard to do. But he's Jason Day. So anyway, but Cindy, you should try it with a golf shot and see how it goes. It's, for me, I can get in that right side until the moment before I pull the club away, and then my darn brain just starts chattering at myself, and I lose it. But anyway, it's fun to play with.
Again,
anyway.
at least you're honest. And again, we can all learn how to do this.
Yeah,
so we can practice.
Right.
This is great.
Exactly. Yeah.
Very interesting product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. And go ahead, Ted.
No. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so I work with a coach, Brady Riggs. He's in Los Angeles area, and he's the one that introduced me to this focus band. And he's my swing coach, because it's good to have swing coaches, right? I mean, I don't play competitive golf anymore, but you can sure learn a lot when someone is teaching you. So he's the one that introduced me to this, and he had me go through the process over and over again with this focus band, trying different strategies to tap into the meditative, clear mind state. And, a few different strategies are to focus on your breathing, focus or put your hand on your stomach, feel your breath coming in and out of your stomach. Or if you're a touch person, you can kind of rub your fingers together, like your forefinger and your thumb, and that can bring you to that present state of awareness or that meditative state. And for me personally, there are two things that can get me into that state, and it's focusing on the sky or focusing on the target. And if I can keep my mind focused on either of those two things throughout the shot, then I can stay in that positive state of mind. And it's different for everyone, but it's fun to. Anyway, I would encourage anyone to go find a coach with a focus band and find a strategy that works for them.
Very interesting. Now, you also have run some very successful women's coaching programs in the Colorado area where you work part of the time. Tell us a little bit about that, and specifically what you mean by the learning clubs.
Yes. So 6 days a week, I have a clinic or a learning club. We talk about different parts of golf, and hopefully at the end of each summer, all of my students are much more educated, or more well-educated in golf, in all aspects of golf, not just the mechanics of swing, which I've found earlier in my career I focused heavily on just swing mechanics. A golf lesson will be 60 minutes of fixing your golf swing. But I guess as I've gotten older, there's a lot more to golf than that, and students should know a lot more about golf, and including etiquette, mindfulness, rules, things like that. So some of the learning clubs that we have Fitness Fridays, which is circuit training. We do Tathata Tuesdays, where we do some Tathata yoga type movements on the driving range. We do Sunday scoring school, where we'll play 9 holes with the ladies, and only from 60 to 100 yards out, and we work on improving their scoring abilities. Let's see what else. We also do an Understanding Golf series, which are Thursdays, and we talk about some
think, Amy, you popped into an area in the clubhouse there, or in the pro shop that's we lost the signal, I think, Amy. Yeah, I think she stepped in an area that's that she actually dropped. Cindy, I'm assuming you're still with me?
I am.
Yeah, her call got dropped. She must have walked. Yes, I can. Yeah, I'm fine. She must have walked in. We'll wait for Amy to call back in. I think she must have walked into an area that a pocket in the clubhouse, because her voice sort of drifted out. But there she is.
Anyway,
hi, Amy. Welcome back.
But hi, thank you. We must be getting near the end anyway. I've been talking your ear off.
That's okay. Yeah, you started into I think you were on Thursday, and then it started. Your voice started to drift away. You must have moved or something and got into one of the bad areas there. But so if you want to pick up from where you were talking on Thursday.
Okay. Yeah. So Thursdays is just our understanding golf day, and each Thursday we talk about another word that not everyone knows the definition of. Like this Thursday is Bounce Thursday. I know a lot of the gals that I work with don't fully understand what bounce is, and so for an hour I will teach them what bounce is and how they can use it to their advantage, in different types of shots, so things like that. Yeah. But anyway, it's a successful women's education program, I would say. Mm-hmm.
I think that's, Cindy, and I'm sure you'd agree with me, I think that's a very unique and interesting approach to how, a golf program should be. Because you're right, Amy, you mentioned earlier just a few moments ago about how you didn't want to stick to sort of the traditional, talk about the golf swing and swing mechanics and things like that. And I think sometimes, we all get a little stuck in that. And I like the fact that each day during the week you have something unique and specific that you focus on, which gives your students an opportunity to learn something new and not get into a sort of a routine of, we were kind of talking about this last time and we were talking about that, so you're doing something new and keeps it fresh and interesting and makes them want to come back. So what's she going to be talking about this week, or what's going to be on today's agenda, that sort of thing. So I think that's very unique way. And I also like the fact, too, when you're out playing, that you're focusing from about 60 yards in, as opposed to just doing everything from the tee to green. So that gives them focusing on really some of the most important parts of the game, and that's the short game.
Right. Yes, absolutely. I think that our scoring school has become the most popular ladies program. Actually, we will end up with upwards of 20 women who come out on Sunday afternoons for that. So yes, thank you. Thanks, Ted.
Very cool. Well, hey, I try.
Do you have?
We have 350 and 110 LGA members, participating lady golfers.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. That's fantastic. Amy, for those that are listening to the show that want to maybe reach out, if they're either in your area and maybe not part of some of the programs that you're doing, but maybe say, hey, that's something I might be interested in, how can they reach out to you? And more specifically, how can they learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah. Well, I can be found on all social media at Amy Nordeen Golf. AMYNORDEEN, how you spell my name. So Amy Nordeen Golf on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of that. Otherwise, my websites that I'm constantly working on are ladygolfcamp.com, and I do 2-day women's golf schools around Colorado, California, Arizona. And my golf videos, my YouTube videos and short clips like that, instructional tips, can be found on lovelaughgolf.com.
Oh, very cool. I like that.
Awesome.
Very cool. Well, Well, Amy, thank you very much for joining us this morning. And I know you got to go to work, but we'd love to have you come back again. It was a very interesting conversation and a very, very unique approach to the game. And I'm going to have to check out this Tathata training. I may have to give it a whirl. I think I can manage to squeeze in a few hours of video during the day, so I'll see what I can do. But I think you guys may have sold me on that. But thank you very much, Amy, for joining us this morning. And as I said, we'll love to have you back again sometime in the future.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure.
Have a
All right,
great
you have
day.
a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Cindy, how tough is this Tathata? What am I getting myself into?
Well, it's intriguing. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, I'm serious.
Guts.
I'm gonna take. Yeah, I will. I'll power up and try to see what I can do. But anyways, thanks everyone for joining us this morning. For Cindy and I on the Women of Golf Show, we loved bringing the show to you each and every Tuesday. And thank you to our very special guests, Cynthia Navis and Amy Nordeen. Thank you, ladies, for coming on this morning and sharing your thoughts about the game. And we look forward to coming back next Tuesday from 9 to 10 Eastern here on the Women of Golf Show. And on that note, on behalf of Cindy Miller and I'm Ted Odorico. God bless everybody. Thank you, and we'll see you next week on the Women of Golf. Thanks, Cindy.
Thanks, Ted. Have a good one.
You too.